What's up, world? I am TJ, and this is Nativerezmedia, your place for opinionated tech news, reviews, and entertainment. And today I will be bringing you an unboxing, quick assembly, general overview, all of the above, of the Creality Ender 3 version 2 3D printer. I do not own a 3D printer. I have never touched a 3D printer, and this is my very first one. I went with this one because it had a lot of good reviews. It has a large user base with a lot of support online. I know they had the what is it, Voxelab, Aquila, or whatever that is. That was a little bit cheaper than this. It's kind of like a clone of this one, and they have improved on this one a little bit. It has its differences, but I found out about that one after I already made this purchase. I believe this one retails for about $280. The Aquila, it retails for about $200, maybe $180. You can find it in different places or whatever. But I already had purchased this one, so I was like, oh well. But I did get a deal on this one. It wasn't too bad. I think I paid $230 for this. And so not that much more than that one, and it also came with a spool PLA, so that was a bonus. But with that being said, I'm going to dive right into this box and then get this thing together. All right, I got my cheapo blade here. Let me get this sliced and open. Oh, cheapo for real. I don't even think it's never find my knife. My nice knife that I have when I need it. That's nice. Stick that back in there. All right, flipping up the foam. On the top or I'm on the bottom. Oh well. All right, so this is the bottom, but whatever. Putty knife, some filament. All right, SD card, some nozzles, screws, nuts, bolts, Allen key, wrenches, other stuff to put it together. Let's put all this to the side here. Rail holder. I think this is, I'm not sure if this is the Z-axis holder. Got your stepper motor here for the Z-axis holder thing. If I am saying them axes wrong, sorry. I know. I believe the Y-axis is on the bottom. That's the bed, and then you have your Z-axis, which is the one that runs up and down, and then you have your X-axis that runs left and right. Okay. All right. So what we got? We got Creality invitation. Just manuals and things. Let's see. Screen. The extruder. This is the hot end. All right. Let's see here. Take that out. Set that down right there. All right, we got it all out of the box, scattered here in front of me, and I guess it's time for me to get this thing assembled. So cue the time lapse. three put together, and it's been a few days since I've had a chance to work with it, do some prints and things like that, and I will be going over some of those today. I'll be going over some of my triumphs, some of my failures. I have a lot of stuff laid out here, and you know, this is just basically going to be a general overview from a new user of a 3D printer. I've never owned a 3D printer, and yeah, this was a new experience for me. A lot of frustration along the way, and I'll go over some of that. Pardon the noise. Currently, I am printing a headphone stand right now. It's something I found on Thingiverse, and I'll put links to everything that I have printed up in the description box below. Okay, so first, I'm going to start off with one of the biggest frustrations, I would say, for a lot of new users when you get into 3D printing. It is leveling the bed. For me, I did it the old-fashioned way at first, moving the hot end, touching on the bed with the Z-axis and the steppers disabled, and then found out that that was inconsistent because you can move that Z-axis up and down while trying to adjust the knobs on the bottom. So I went on YouTube, and someone put actually a STL file of a bed leveling assistance or whatever. It doesn't extrude any filament or anything, but it goes through the corners and the center while you can adjust the knob. So that helped me out a lot. And then now I have updated my firmware to the Gyres UI. If you have an Ender 3 V2, if you haven't updated to that, do it. It helped me out a lot because it has manual bed leveling in there, to where you can just go and say, hey, I want to go to the bottom right. It'll go to the bottom right. You can adjust it, go to the center, adjust it. And once you've done that a few times and you get your way that you are leveling it out down pat in your head, like instead of just going around in a circle, I would go around one time and I would crisscross, and then that is how I got my bed level. And then I would set my Z offset if I wanted to go get a little bit more squash on that first level. But if you haven't, and if you don't know anything about 3D printing, every term that I'm using today, you will learn about it. Trust me. Look over a ton of videos like I have, and I'll link to some of those that got me started off in the description box below as well. And that's that was one of the biggest things, learning what the parts are, and then how to adjust them and things like that. But let's go over some of these prints here. So as you see, I have a plethora here, and I've upgraded my Ender with some prints already, and I'll go over that too. But first thing I think I printed was a new spool arm, but this is not the spool arm that I am currently using. It was for a few days. This is the original one that came with the 3D printer with the Ender. And then you print this out, and then this had a nut that attached it to the actual spool arm that is on there now, and you just tighten it like that. But this one, someone modified this to hold the stock spool holder, bam, and you just put it on there like that, twist it, it stays on there. And then there is something you mount to one of the extrusion rails on the bottom of the bed there. Put a screw in here, mount it on there, and it just holds the arm down on the side, kind of where it is now. It sticks it out from the side a little bit more. I actually wanted to go with something that brought the spool arm in a little bit more, and that was just a little bit more sleek. So I just printed out it's like a spool arm holder that it's just kind of like this small, mounts to the bed. It puts it at a 45-degree angle, so you can use the stock railing for the spool holder, the spool roll holder there. And then I had to print out, and this is some of those frustrations. I had to print out the spool roller here, and this is not the one I printed fully. Obviously, you can see this was a failed print, and I will tell you why. But it comes with you print out a nut that goes on the end of here, and it just screws right onto the end of that stock spool arm there. But this one, when I was printing it, it was printed with supports, and you'll learn about supports here. So had supports in here, and so this kind of, let me screw it back down on there, was printed just like this, vertical on the bed. Pretty good. Then it gets to the top here where it thins out, and poor bed adhesion. I guess it was cooling off, I don't know, and it just knocked it around, and then that turned into a huge mess on the top. Let me get rid of that. There we go. One of these. So if you get into 3D printing, I'm sure you will see a lot of this if you're not paying attention. Good thing I was working, and I work from home, so I happened to come in to where I was 3D printing at and take a look and caught it or whatever. But if I was off work and I just left it printing, that would be pretty bad. And that's why I understand why a lot of people get what are those, the Wise cams, or some kind of camera system to where they can monitor their 3D prints when they are away, and then set up some type of auto shut off to where you can shut the printer off if something is going haywire there. But yeah, so that was one of my prints that I printed off, and so far that's turned out pretty good. The new spool roller turned out great. I printed up some things for my son. He wanted me to print a Spider-Man head. I printed that up. He turned out pretty good, other than on the front, the words down there don't say Spider-Man. It says Spider T Ma or something like that. I don't know what happened with that. But I also printed out a Benchy just to see how my prints were doing. And there's something, I looked up. I was like, why are everybody printing out these little boats and stuff? So, but it's a good way to tune your printer, and it lets you know where you can tweak some things. Like if it doesn't bridge properly, this roof will not be laid, which mine did pretty good. I also, while I was printing this, I kind of got right up to the top. I don't know if you can see it, but I got to the top and I stopped my print. I pulled out the SD card because I wanted to test and see what would happen if power went out or something flickered. The print stopped. Put the SD card back in, and I went back in, hit resume, and it's picked up where it left off, but it kind of skewed the stacker on the top of the boat a little bit, but whatever. But it did pick back up, so it does have a resume feature built into the printer, so that was cool. Overall, this was my first Benchy. Turned out pretty good. Not some kind of a Benchy connoisseur person who knows the detailed ins and outs, but it looks good to me, and I'm sure I can do a little bit better from learning in the past. Then let's go to another fail here. So these Predator pliers here, you can go on Thingiverse and download the STL to these. The first ones that I did, well, this is not the first one. Let's just say this was probably the third or fourth set that I tried to do. The third one, I think it was. I couldn't get good bed adhesion. When you are doing something that is laying down and it has a lot of, squiggly lines and movements and things like that, oh my God, bed adhesion is very important, and you don't want too much bed squish when tolerances are important. So what that means is, so on these pliers, they print one piece. You don't put them together or anything. So they lay down flat on your bed, and the printer has to go through and print this up. All these gears and all these gear marks here, it has to print all those up in one go. So that first layer, if you have too much squish on the bottom here, it's going to seal this gear up to this gear little holder here. And as you can see on this one, it did exactly that. So it sealed it, and there is pretty much no way to get that unsealed unless you go in there with a X-Acto knife, a heated X-Acto knife, and then that kind of like ruins it a little bit. On this one, I had to go in a little bit, but I mean, it was so thin. It was just like a thin layer of PLA that was only in certain parts, but I had to go in with an X-Acto knife and just slightly, cut it a little bit. But for the most part, the tolerances were a lot better on this one than this one. So this one didn't print good. I was trying to move it around, broke it up, and I got frustrated. It was just like, yeah, Hulk smash on that one. But yeah, this one turned out pretty good. It works like it's supposed to. All right, and then what else did I print out? I printed out a new interface cover. It's on the printer now. I printed out an orange one. Thingiverse. I mean, modifications, upgrades. I put new springs on it. This is the stock spring size. I also had some of these laying around, just some a box of springs, and I put these on. It raised the bed up a little bit. These had more tension. But I ordered a new boating tube, and there was a kit, and it came with some of the flatter yellow springs that a lot of people know. If you go on Amazon, you search Ender 3v2 springs, and you'll see a bajillion of them. And I put those on there when I changed out the handle on it. So I got those springs on there. Also, like I said, printed out some things for my drone here, and so this drone on the gimbal here, there is, whenever you want to put a ND filter, it's just, I mean, there is no like place to screw an ND filter on this Thimi X8. So the ND filters have like a foam insert, and you just slip it over there. Well, that's it. There's no, you don't put tape on it or anything. That's supposed to hold that on there, and it's very gentle. I mean, you bump that a little bit when it's on there, it might fall off. And you be fine 400 miles in air, a mile away, your ND filter falls off. You're SOL. Now, the rest of the day, you got to change your drone imaging setting, because you had the perfect ND filter on there. You had the perfect ISO dialed in and everything. Now you got to redo all that. So I printed out these little ND filter holders for the Thimi that someone designed from Thingiverse, and they just clip on there. So you put the filter on there, you clip this on. Oh, let me change that out. I'm gonna get this on here. I got one hand. Let me put this down. So you can drop the ND filter down into there, and then you pull up this, slip it over the top, bam, and there you go. It just clips on there. It gives it a more secure hold. I printed it out in gray to match the Thimi itself, and there you go. So once you get it on there, you get the gimbal calibrated. Well, the gimbal will calibrate itself, and you got a holder. Put that back to the side. Also, I printed out some rail slots or whatever. Printed out a lot of these little rail slots for the Ender 3 over there. Some of them turned out good, some of them didn't turn out so good. You get too much squish on there. This is about tolerance because it slides into there. But one thing that I did find, went back on there, there are some rails that you can get that just pop down in there, so you don't have to slide them in. They basically just pop down on top, and those are the ones that I ended up using on top of mine. You can scale them up, resize them. Oh, it was just much easier than getting the ones to where you had to take the sides off and slide them in. And those are the orange stripes on the top of the printer itself. And then let's see here, you're gonna get a lot of this. So get into 3D printing, these little lines, all this stuff. This, every time your 3D print starts, the printer draws a line somewhere, draws a skirt somewhere, and so you get a lot of little plastic filament stuff laying around. You got to make sure you have a little trash can ready to throw all this away. A lot of bad first layers. You always want to monitor your print when you're laying down that first layer, maybe even up to the second layer, depending on how big it is. And this is something I noticed when I was printing this first layer a while back. If you look here, you can see this means that the bed was too far away from the nozzle, because you could see those little gaps in the filament there. That you want it to be more like this, where it's sealed together and it squishes all together and creates a good first layer. So I was monitoring this print, noticed that, cut it off right away, re-leveled my bed, then redid the print, and that turned out to be the box that's the cover that's over there now. So keep all that in mind when you get into 3D printing. Oh, this came on the on the printer SD card when I got it. It's just like the little dog here. I should have scaled it up a little bit. It turned out pretty good and detailed for my first print. And yeah, it was easy. I just used the slicer settings that they already had in there. I use Cura, Ultimaker Cura, and that's a pretty good slicer. I've learned that a lot. Learn how and when to put supports on your items, because if you forget to put supports on, you slice it, you get over there, you can have something that's coming all the way up here 2, 3, 4 hours in, and it's gonna be going to the left over, and I forgot to put supports on, and you know it's ruined, and you're just like, oh my god, there goes 4 hours right there. So remember those things, your supports, your brims, your skirts, all that kind of stuff is very important. The infill amount, the wall thickness. I mean, there's a lot when it comes to 3D printing, but it's a fun hobby to get into. So, you know, the more you dive into it, the better. Filament's fairly cheap. I mean, you can get a couple rolls for 30 bucks. One roll, I mean, I just ordered some black PLA from Amazon for what, 16 bucks shipped to my door for, you know, 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds there. And because you're going to have a lot of this, you're going to have a lot of supports laying around. This stuff is, you know, I guess some people can recycle this, but it's just, this is what prints out along with a print that you are doing to support some of those overhangs. So it'll print this whole block off to the side here, and while your print is going on over here, because it knows that eventually this print's going to have to come over to this side and need some support to print that floor. So I mean, you know, I'm not gonna say it's wasted PLA, but yeah, it's just, you're gonna have a lot of this kind of stuff, so keep that in mind as well. So yeah, this was just my overview. Try to make it as quick as possible of what to expect when getting into 3D printing. This is coming from a 3D printing beginner. Whenever I get into something, I try to learn as much about it as I can. I just don't want to just, you know, dive in without knowing some sort of knowledge. And so that's, you know, the way you should go at something, and at least do your research before you get into it. Know what you're doing, because a lot of people will get into something like this and get so frustrated and like, oh, this thing sucks, send it back to the manufacturer or to wherever they purchased it from. Oh, it sucks, it doesn't work, when it was just one little setting that they could have tweaked and it would have worked perfectly. Like for me, when I first got mine, I knew, you know, nothing about the hot end or anything like that. And so, you know, I'm printing and I got a jam on my hot end. And so, yeah, I went on YouTube, went into the online universe there and figured out, oh yeah, so my, so the filament, even with the hot end heating up, it just would not go through. So I guess there was something stuck in the, past the heat break, another one of those terms. And I had to take the extrusion, the nozzle off, and not the extrusion nozzle. I had to take the nozzle off the hot end, the 0.04 millimeter nozzle or 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Had to take that off and get some filament and just push it through while it was hot to get the filament out of there. This printer did come with one of those little acupuncture style needles to clean the thing out, but that wasn't working. And so yeah, I just took it apart, cleaned it out, and then put everything back together. And it's, you know, ever since then it's been working pretty good. So if you get one of these, go through, take off that fan shroud, make sure that your Bowden tube is pushed all the way down to meet up with the actual nozzle in here, because this isn't an all metal hot end, another one of those terms. And yeah, like I said, I upgraded my Bowden tube to one of the more, I wouldn't say expensive Teflon ones, but it's not the stock one there. And just changed a couple things around. But with that being said, if you have any questions, comment down below. I'll be happy to try to answer something for you. I will put a link in, as I said before, to some of the guys that I've looked at, or some of the videos that I've looked at, created by some wonderful 3D printing experts out there that I'm sure can help you out with your problem. All right, well, you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching this video, and peace out.